My world has been reduced to the four walls of my tiny apartment, littered with comic books, gadgets, and the flickering lights of a computer screen. A virtual fortress where I, the geeky girl with oversized glasses and a love for all things binary, could hide away from reality. But lately my reality had been nothing but a blurry haze, a fever dream that kept me tethered to my tangled sheets for 2 whole days. In other words, I'm super sick, and it sucks. The sound of a knock rattled through my semi-conscious state, stirring me from the pixelated dreams that danced behind my closed eyes. What? I groaned, rolling over in bed. Who could that be? What the heck? I heard a deep voice ask for me. My mind was foggy, but one image was clear. The fire-red hair of the swim team captain who lived next door. The thought of seeing him in this state was mortifying. So I rolled frantically and thud. I slammed onto the hard floor, folded up in my sheets like a germ taco. There it was again. The knock. More insistent this time. But then he barged in, his eyes quickly finding me on the floor. The freaking floor. How did he even get in my... How did he even get my door open? Concern etched on his unfairly handsome face. He stood at the threshold of my cluttered domain, his eyes scanning the room before landing on me again.
Not dead then?
He quipped with a smirk that could ignite wildfires. His voice was laced with humor.
I just wanted to check on you. So your corpse smell wouldn't float over my apartment.
Corpse smell? I hastily sniffed my armpit. No, bad idea. I could only muster a feeble cough in response, my cheeks burning hotter than my fever. There he was, the epitome of college athleticism, standing amid my chaos of tech and sci-fi paraphernalia. Yet instead of recoiling, he stepped forward, the corners of his mouth tilted in a gentle smile.
The corpse comment was a joke. Okay, I'll dismiss the clatter of your keyboard through the wall,
he said, his eyes twinkling with humor.
Don't worry, I've got you,
he assured me, rolling up his sleeves. What? The next hours were a blur. He seemed to know exactly what to do, moving around my kitchen with surprising grace, heating up soup and making tea with honey. All the while I lay there, a bundle of sickly, shy awkwardness, acutely aware of the proximity of this Greek god in his swim trunks. Every time he brought the spoon to my lips, his fingers brushed mine, sending jolts of electricity through my fevered body. I wanted to disappear, to melt into the mattress and escape the embarrassment. But another part of me, the part that had secretly watched him from my peephole every time he passed by, wanted to memorize every moment. Okay, it wasn't every time he passed by. I'm not that type of pervert. As the medicine began to kick in and my senses returned, I realized something. He was not just the hot swim team captain. He was kind, and his eyes held a warmth that had nothing to do with this fever I was fighting. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something more than just awkward hallway encounters. Maybe this was the start of my own real-life romantic comedy, starring the geeky girl next door and the hot neighbor with the fire-red hair. Well, I don't know. I think I was too sick to even use my brain. Really, though, why did you come over here? I asked him.
I was getting worried your apartment turned into a crypt and I'd have to deal with the ghost of you haunting the hallways.
I squirmed in my sheet, trying to fashion it into some sort of robe. Very funny, I managed to rasp out, my voice sounding like it had been dragged through gravel. And FYI, if I were to haunt anywhere, it'd be the comic book store down the street, not this old building. He chuckled, the sound warm and rich, and extended a hand to help me sit up more. His grip was firm, and for a moment I worried about the germs I was probably transferring onto him. As he rummaged through my kitchen, I couldn't help be amazed at how he seemed to know his way around better than I did. "How did you even get in here?" I inquired, a muffled question through the fortress of blankets I'd built around myself on the couch.
I may have borrowed the spare key you gave Miss Henderson for emergencies,
he admitted without looking back, focusing on the steaming pot on the stove. "Oh, that's actually very resourceful," I said, slightly impressed. "And slightly illegal, but we'll let that slide since you're playing Florence Nightingale." He looks back.
Who? Kidding, I have her poster on my wall.
I blinked.
Also kidding.
The faintest blush colored his cheeks as he brought over a tray.
Don't mention it. I mean, who wouldn't help their favorite adorable neighbor? You may try to hide yourself away from the world, but believe me, I took notice. It's hard not to when you're wearing rainbow rabbit slippers when you sneak downstairs to check the mail.
He said this as he adjusted the pillow behind my head before feeding me a spoonful of soup before I could spurt out anything unintelligible in response.
Careful, it's hot.
His care was meticulous, his touch gentle, as if I were something precious. And with each brush of his fingers, my heart did a somersault, my skin tingling with a heat that had nothing to do with this fever. As I sipped the tea he had prepared, I met his gaze, something vulnerable and honest in my eyes. "You're kind of amazing, you know that?" The words slipped out before I could stop them, my usual shyness overridden by the gratitude and the dawning realization of this unexpected camaraderie. His smile in response was soft, private, and for the first time I allowed myself to believe that perhaps the universe had its own quirky sense of matchmaking.
Hey, I have an idea. I got the latest Jason Statham shark movie. Let's make fun of it while I keep an eye on you, deal? I'd hate for you to croak out on me while I'm my watch.
He winked and plopped down on my sofa like he owned it, propping his feet up and taking charge of the remote. As the night deepened and the tea soothed my aches, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, this was the start of a beautifully awkward adventure right next door. If being sick was this fun, I'm never washing my hands again.